the world a whole bunch of times catching whatever, and people don't understand what we have in our backyard or what we had in our backyard, because the bigger fish that we just had, they sort of like squirted out, guys. Because when I left after Accurate about 2 months ago, and I'm a recreational fisherman, but I do have a commercial license, right? So I fish commercially, and not to take real advantage, I would catch a fish a day and leave, right? So I'd get some big fish and split and go and do what I had to do, because I didn't have a job for a couple months and I supported myself. So point behind this is I got fairly proficient at doing that over there. I could go over there and find one a day. I did never catch more than one, right? If I got one good one, I got out of there. Some of the guys were killing it. Like, I won't mention any names of putting it up there, but they were killing 4 and 8 a day, and it was like just really bad. And what happened, I don't know if you guys are watching, but Barbara Block came down from Stanford, and what Barbara Block did is now she was tagging, satellite tagging our tuna, because they're going to do the same thing here that they do back east, and they might really crimp us for catching them now. And it just happened. I mean, it just happened that last go, maybe 3 weeks ago, they started tagging some fish. So they'll be able to figure out the growth rates, migration routes, you know, all the stuff they need to know about these fish that's going on, and they're going to try to manage it. Once they try to manage a fishery, it gets really tough. And I don't know if I fished, the old days I fished in the 80s back east, and I got to fish Bimini and a lot of other places where those big fish were. When they started watching quotas, it affects everybody, recreational and commercial. So just know that that could happen. And the best thing I can tell you right now is take what you can eat, you know, or take what, you know, don't go too far and take too many. That's all I'm saying. Like, I watch guys catch these little tuna, it's like, let them go. You know, you're talking about everybody's using number 4 hooks and 15 and 20 pound tests. Just pop those things off. I mean, the problem is once they get in your bag and they're flopping around in your bag, all the meat's gone on them anyways. So I'm not saying keep a few, but don't go crazy with the stuff. It's just like put it back in, do what you can do. But the fishing out front, those big fish are gone. So they're not behind the island right now. They're not up at Cruise. There's fish I'm watching right now. Top Gun's out on the Cortez Bank. Last night they found some bigger fish on the Cortez Bank. And the way that I can figure that out is if you guys get marinetraffic.com, who gets that? No one? Go to it. Watch it. Marinetraffic.com is this thing where you can watch all the commercial boats and see where they're fishing right now. So what you do is you get on that and you can watch. And last night they went over the Cortez Bank. They must have saw something, because they did about 5 drifts over the same area. So I was watching it from hour to hour, and they're out there catching those things. So the fish have turned out. They're over there. They're doing it. So I don't know what grade. I think it's 100 to 200 pounders, but it could be there and gone. Yes, sir.
Don't they, the majority of the boats, don't they turn that
No.
tracking system off?
No. No, they don't. Not anymore. They're all on it. It's pretty funny. So you can see the prowler. You can see whoever. Just watch it.
I have, but I can see the boats start to head south.
No, I'm just watching behind. Like, I was fishing Clemente, and I was at
okay.
Clemente.
Okay.
Right? And they were all sitting right next to me, and I was looking at marine traffic, and they're all on there right next to me. So I know that you can, when they sit in on a spot, you can see them. So that works with probably 75% of them.
Okay, so not necessarily the long range.
Not all of them. But the long range boats are with us the last couple of weeks. Like, I would say the last 6 weeks back there, it was pretty easy. It was pretty good pickings. Especially, you know, he's telling the story, it's all about flatfall jigs. Doesn't have to be a Shimano. I got some good ones to give away for you guys that I've caught tons of fish on. Just change the hooks out on. That's the whole thing with buying anything, you can change the hooks out. But those fish back there, the bigger fish seem to have went. They're gone. I haven't seen them. But the fun thing for you guys that have private boats or can get on a 6-pack boat, the yellowfin tuna are up at the Osborne Bank, and they're on the outside of the Osborne Bank. And there's bluefins outside there. And yesterday we saw, not yesterday, 2 days ago, we saw a yellowfin that was 80 pounds. Jerry Mayhew got it. And he got it on the back of Catalina sliding down the V's. So there's fish there, and then what I wanted to talk about basically was, you know, some of the stuff that we're using for it. You know, with rods and reels nowadays, you don't need really big tackle because of small reels. they have a huge amount of drag, and there's a lot of rods that are really sensitive and small and light. And nowadays you can catch, you can catch a 100-pound fish on this, right? And before you couldn't. This thing has 325 yards of 50 on it, right? So 8-foot rod, got the castability. You got a rod. It's got some power to it, So all I'm trying to do today is just like let you guys know that this season's far from over. So all I'm telling you right now is the yellowfins are here. The ones down south are little bitties, right? The ones up here, anywhere from 25 to 80 pounds. The bluefins are still up here. Like 5 days ago, I saw bluefins where they were, it was funny, and I don't know who's telling me that story, but someone, actually I know who it was. It was Mark at Performance was telling me a guy threw a popper. He threw a dial popper, gave it a couple pops, hooked it, suddenly felt weird. He had two 20-pounders on one popper. So I was asking him, I go, so what'd you do? Reach down to pick up the popper or what? And he goes, no. He had two of his friends gaff each fish, right? One gaff this, one. That's the first time in my life I've ever heard anybody catch two tunas on a popper. So that just tells you how thick they are. But the problem that we got right now is the seiners are on them. And with the seiners on them, they'll shut that thing down. But here's the cool thing about the seiners. The seiners go after a bulk of fish. So the very beginning of the season, the water temperature down there was maybe 68, 70 degrees. The seiners were sitting outside La Jolla. So I live in Clemente and I have a skiff in my garage. I take my skiff down to La Jolla, launch out a mission, run out and look for the seiners. And what you do is you can find the seiners, and the seiners are, what are they targeting? Yellowfin, right? What's outside the yellowfin? Bluefins. So I got on the bluefins first thing this year, and I had for 8 out of 12 days, I didn't get big ones, but I got decent ones. I had limits of bluefin of that small stuff, and I got to take my entire family, my daughters, my cousins, my brother-in-law, whatever, and catch fish every single day because the seiners were telling us where to go just by what they were doing. So that fish lasted for probably a few weeks down there. This is very reminiscent of that. So if those seiners, right now the seiners are on the backside on the ridge and they're pushing the fish, that whole yellowfin, bluefin thing could come in. And people are like, the water's too green. Well, the fish have been in the water. What water warms up fastest? Green water, right? What carries all the nutrients in the bait? Green water, right? So you start looking at what's going on, the same thing's happening again, because that water down there wasn't blue. And down there, the weirdest thing at the beginning of the season, I saw really big fish, like scary big ones. And then they never showed up behind the island. You saw fish, like I've been fishing those things probably for like 25 years on the East Coast. I've caught them up to like 800 pounds. I saw some fish that were solid 400 pounds down there coming out of the water, and they never showed up over here. And they were, this year, I think my biggest fish was 283, and I think there was a few threes, like I think Billy Kellerman had a good one that was over 3. But last year we caught bigger fish last year than we did this year. But we caught more fish of a certain size. Everybody caught a 200-pounder this year. It was like, there wasn't like, hey, I caught a 170. It was like 2 bills and 225 and 250, and it was like, I had guys walking around that the only fish they'd ever caught is a bluegill. Now they have a 230-pound bluefin. You're looking at them going, wow, this is crazy. But that's the way this year went. So with what's going on out there right now, it's been a really good popper bite. And the last few days, normally when we're not to a porpoise school, what do?
Troll.
Yeah, we troll, and what else? We drop back baits, right? On the slide. Guess what we were doing yesterday and the day before? Throwing poppers. Guess what? They ate the poppers in the middle of school. I've never seen it before. And it was funny because Jerry Mayhew was on the other side of me. He was throwing a popper, and I was like, that's your son. Did you fall down or something? What's wrong with you? As soon as I saw the first fish on, it was on. So popper-wise, halcos, smaller poppers, they'll eat a bigger popper. Don't be afraid to go to the next size, which probably this is a 135 or 160. You could throw that new Daiwa popper. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think it's called a Hamachi or something. The key to making that is that you have to make the cast, right? And with casting braid, it's always harder to cast braid. Does everybody understand that? because braids sometimes will go off the spool faster, you won't be able to hold on to it, and what ends up happening is you get a fluff. It's not a bad idea if you're not a super caster to go through and put a top shot of 100 yards at least so that you have enough mono to cast off of here, and you'll be fine. I'm used to casting the braid. The longer rod helps too, because what happens is, I was watching a video, I think yesterday, where one of the boats was coming up, and guys, you could tell the guys didn't have a confidence in their casting ability, right? And a lot of guys are casting with 7-foot rods. It's not a bad idea. Two things: to practice casting, which I've always done all my life. I'll go down to the harbor and do it, or I'll go to the park. My wife used to think I was nuts. I would take the hooks off of my poppers and go down and cast the popper in the park all the time. And it just gives me the ability to know that I can cast when I got to cast. So that was one thing that was huge. The other thing is, when you're gonna go do this stuff, like someone was just talking about, he was talking about knots and all your connections. I do that religiously. Does everybody know what knot pullers are? Anybody seen knot pullers? So knot pullers, you could take a broken rod and cut pieces of it off like this, right? Then with the broken rod, you can wrap, literally I wrap tape around it, and then I'll go through and put shrink tube over the top of it. What you do is you take your braid, take your mono, 3 wraps around each after you tie your knot, and pull the knot in the middle, pull it, and you'll hear it pop, it's cinched. Once you cinch a knot, you're good. You don't cinch a knot, and you see the pigtail afterwards, you got a problem. So the one thing that he's talking about is the first thing everybody should be doing is when you put line on your reel, whatever's going, you need to make sure all your knots are tight and they're right. And then from that point on, if your base is in your head that you always know that your knots have to be right, test all your knots. A lot of times what I used to do is I'd sit there, like especially with marlin gear or swordfish gear, I'd sit there and pull on it for a long time just to make sure that it wouldn't break. And once you've got that, you have that in your head. You know that that part of your whole equation's right.